Hi, this is Mike Fitzgerald, and today we're going to go over a few things in Football Highlights 2052. We're going to be talking about the modes of play, how you can set up tournaments, league play, and we're going to look at the full draft. A lot of people are familiar with the teams right in the deck in the game you can play, but the advanced mode of the game is to draft most of your team before the game even starts with a halftime adjustment draft too. So we're going to go over all of that. We're going to start with what you can do with the cards in the core box. Once you're done playing the start decks that are already built, and maybe you do a halftime draft, maybe you'd like to see, well, how do I do the full-time thing? The rules are in there, but I think it's better sometimes when people actually see it. So you take the 5-star players. These are the players. They all have the same art of them. Again, these are not final cards, but they will have art that looks similar to this. 5 cards on each team. And we're going to draft for New England and Philadelphia today. So we have their 5-star players, and you want both players to be able to see those because they know these 5 players are going to be in your deck. So they get a chance to quickly evaluate how many pass defenses do you have, how many rush defenses, what kind of things should I look for to strengthen my team, or to be able to draft something that might be working against your team, or what do I need? So the first part of the full draft is a secret draft, meaning that you won't see the cards that the other player is drafting. So they're going to, each player gets you take this off the top of the deck after shuffling. So what are these cards in this 75 card draft deck? They're all in the core box. These are the 10 other players from each of these teams and the 10 players from the other 2 teams, so that's a total of 40, plus the 35 extra deck cards that come in the base game for drafting. So you have 75 cards here to draft. The thing you never put in the draft deck are the star players of any team. You keep those out. They're just better players, that they're completely unique. They're for your start team. Which team you pick. So you'll get the New England ones, Philadelphia, the other ones put aside. But all of the regular players you can use. So here we have 75 cards we'll draft from. Each player gets a stack of 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, each player is going to draw 2 cards from the top of the deck, look at them, keep one, and put the other at the bottom of the big deck. So you're going to do that 5 times. You'll have 5 players. You'll keep them face down in a stack when you get to your 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. And his 5. 1, 2, 3. Say he picks those and throws the others away. And again, they go to the bottom of the deck. These are the only 5 players or plays on a person's team that you will not see as the opponent, because you know what these star players are. And the next part of the draft is an open draft. You put 10 cards out. And the first 2 cards in the rows here you look at, and just pretend, this is the way we do it. You could also just roll a die, but pretend the number of the card belongs to the person of New England, let's say. So he drew card number 34, and the next card, let's count it for Philadelphia's number, and that will be player number 21. So Philadelphia won the toss kind of thing. Of course, using a coin would be cool too. And Philadelphia can now decide whether they're going to pick the first card and play the first card in the first half, or they're going to defer to New England so that they can pick first in the halftime adjustment draft and start the second half by playing. So in this case, they're going to defer, which means that New England will pick 1 card from this draft. So they can look quickly and see, we got a good no-huddle offense. This is a fun offense. Ooh, there's a pick 6, but you've got to be behind to make that work. But it's a good card if you're not behind to throw out for other things. But let's see. They'll take the no-huddle. No-huddle's a nice offensive play. Now the other team picks 2. Say they pick the pick 6, and you put these cards below the 5 cards in your start team as you're picking them. and then they pick 2. Let's say they pick these 2. This team go ahead and picks these 2, and they pick these 2, and now the Philadelphia is left with 1 card. You add the top card of the deck to this card. Ooh, and that's the one he wants. So you pick that one, and the other goes by. And now you have your 15-card team. So it's pretty simple. You're drafting 5 cards in secret, which will be the 5 cards that the other team doesn't know about, but they can see all the other cards you've got that you can play. Then you mix those all up together, shuffle them up, draw a 10, and proceed with normal play. At halftime, the halftime adjustment draft is just putting the 10 cards up, and each person gets 5. And then from their complete team, which is now 20 cards instead of 15, they throw out 5. But the opponent doesn't see the 5 cards they throw out. You'll be able to see what somebody drafts from the center row for that halftime adjustment draft. You won't see the cards that they throw out. So again, you're going to have a little bit more mystery even in that second half because they will have seen most of what you have. There's always a couple cards they're not going to see with audibles and the cards that are face down. So that is what the full draft is like, and that's what you can do from the 2-player version, playing from the core box. You can do from the core box the same thing we just talked about with 4 players, because there's 2 sets of mats. So you go through the same process with the same stack of 75 cards, divide it up, and you can have enough cards to play that full draft mode with 4 players, each playing each other, which means you could play a tournament, because you could have everybody play everybody once. Now, it's going to take a little bit while, a little bit longer than a baseball highlights tournament would, but it's a lot of fun if you want to do it in one sitting. And for the advanced players, they're certainly going to want to do that with the drafting, because they're really making their team, testing their ideas, getting their plays together. So that's how you play the full draft mode from the box. So my suggestion, once you get all the expansions, there's 3 coming out at first are out, and then there's going to be more added. If the game does well, we'll end up with all the football cities, and then maybe some other crazy things too. So that's a lot of teams. If you got the 3 expansion, right away you're going to have a 10-team league. So we'll talk a little bit about league play that, first of all, doesn't include a draft. So you can take the teams right out of the box, get some friends together, and everybody gets a team, and start your league. First game, all you're going to do each game is a halftime adjustment draft. And you will still have the 35 cards left over, and let's say you have 10 teams and you got 6 players, you'll also take the 40 cards from those other 4 teams that are not star players and add them to this. So you still have a 75 card draft. But if you have fewer teams, you can make this bigger. In fact, it's to your taste. I recommend using the equivalent of 2 expansions or 4 teams worth of cards to make up the draft. That's a nice tight draft. You'll see cards that will support what your star players do, because you're going to be using 2 of those 4 teams, and then put the other cards in the deck too. However, play any way you like. Some people like to play with a huge stack of cards, and you'll never know what you're going to get. You'll see, and you'll say, wow, it's a lot of variety that way. But when you're playing a league with the start teams, with the teams just as they are in the box, I would suggest a halftime adjustment draft, 5 new cards coming each game, and then you can throw them out or not when you do that halftime process. And then keep that deck on throughout the league. So every game you're having those 5 cards added to your deck, and you throw out or keep, and you'll have a nice league experience. We have a lot of fun with that. That's probably the first kind of league to play, maybe even before you get into the full draft game. The full draft league, same concept. You want at least 70 cards in this draft deck. You can even play with a different draft deck for one starting pair, and then have another draft deck for the other starting pair. You're always going to draft 2 at a time, even in a bigger league when you do the full draft. But feel free to use as many of these as you want in the draft deck. Just do not use the star players. They belong to the team. they don't go in the draft. They would just be too good for that. And that's it. I think I've covered the right from the box. We've covered the league play without drafting. We showed you the full draft. So there you go. And I hope you have fun. All this is in the rule book, but a little overview I thought would be of interest here. So that's it from Football Highlights 2052. I'm Mike Fitzgerald.